The bright lights of Harmony 7 space station never dimmed. Day and night were just words here, with no real meaning. Officer Parker Wilson liked it that way. Clear light meant clear rules. And Parker was all about rules. Parker walked through the busy trading section of the station. His white uniform was clean and pressed. His badge shone under the lights. He had been an officer on Harmony 7 for 5 years now. In that time, he had earned a reputation. Some called him tough. Others called him unfair. But no one broke rules when Parker was around. Today, like most days, Parker was looking for trouble. The trading section was full of all types of people, humans from Earth and other planets, and many non-humans too. Parker didn't trust the non-humans much. They were too different. They didn't follow Earth ways. Too many aliens in one place, Parker muttered to himself. Something's bound to go wrong. As Parker turned a corner, something caught his eye. A strange, glowing light moved through the crowd. Parker narrowed his eyes. The rules were clear. No unregistered tech in the trading section. Too many traders had tried to sneak in dangerous items that way. Parker pushed through the crowd, following the glow. When he got closer, he saw it was a woman. She had dark skin and was dressed in simple clothes, but her hair, that was something else. Her dreadlocks seemed to glow with a soft, blue-green light. Little lights moved through them, like tiny stars. The woman was Nari Kim, though Parker didn't know her name yet. Nari was a scientist who studied plants from other worlds. Her special dreadlocks held tiny samples of the plants she studied. The living plants in her hair helped her learn how they adapted to different places. It was cutting-edge science, and Nari was one of the best in her field. Right now, Nari was checking the small screen on her wrist. She was measuring how the plant samples in her hair reacted to the air in this part of the station. She didn't notice Parker until he was right behind her. "Hey, you." Parker's voice was loud and sharp. Several people turned to look. Nari turned, surprised. "Yes, can I help you, officer?" Parker pointed at her glowing hair. "What's that?" "You know unregistered tech is against station rules." Nari smiled politely. "Oh, this isn't tech. These are living plant samples for my research. I'm Dr. Nari Kim from the Xenobotany Institute. I have all the proper permits." She reached for her ID badge. Parker didn't wait. He had seen too many people try to talk their way out of trouble. "Don't move," he ordered. "Any unregistered biomods are also against the rules." "These aren't modifications," Nari tried to explain. "They're contained samples. If you'll let me show you my research permits." "I said don't move." Parker stepped closer. The crowd around them was growing. People stopped to watch. Someone started recording with a small device. Nari stayed calm. "Officer, there seems to be a misunderstanding. My work is fully approved by station authorities. I've been conducting this research for 3 years now." But Parker wasn't listening anymore. He was sure he had caught someone breaking the rules. He reached out suddenly and grabbed one of Nari's dreadlocks, pulling it to examine it. Nari gasped in pain. "Officer, please stop. You're hurting me and damaging my samples." The dreadlock in Parker's hand glowed brighter as the plants inside reacted to the stress. Parker thought this proved they were dangerous. "This is clearly unregistered biotech. You're coming with me to the security office." By now, at least 20 people had stopped to watch. Many had their devices out, recording everything. A shop owner nearby looked worried and whispered to her helper, "Call station security oversight. This isn't right." Nari winced as Parker continued to hold her hair. "Officer, you are assaulting me. I need to see your badge number, please." Parker sneered. "Oh, now you want to file a complaint. Good luck with that." But he turned his badge toward her so she could see the number, 4075. Nari carefully memorized it. She didn't fight or pull away, which seemed to annoy Parker even more. "You're under arrest for possession of unregistered biological modifications and resisting an officer," Parker declared, though Nari hadn't resisted at all. "I am not resisting," Nari said calmly. but I do not consent to this treatment or these false charges. Parker pulled out his restraints. Put your hands behind your back. Neri complied, still calm despite the unfair treatment. As Parker put the restraints on her wrists, she spoke clearly so everyone around could hear. I would like to contact my husband as soon as possible, please. Parker laughed. Sure, you'll get your call. Not that it'll help. A young man in the crowd stepped forward. Officer, she wasn't doing anything wrong. We all saw you grab her first. Stay back, Parker warned, unless you want to be arrested too. The young man stepped back, but kept recording. Parker began leading Neri through the crowd toward the security office. The glowing plants in her hair had dimmed, as if they too were distressed by what was happening. In the security office, Parker roughly pushed Neri into a chair. His boss, Captain Lee, looked up from her desk with a frown. What's this about, Wilson? Captain Lee asked. Caught this woman with illegal biotech, Captain. It's in her hair. Some kind of glowing modification. She tried to claim it was for research, but she was in the trading section, not a lab. Captain Lee looked at Neri more carefully. Your name, ma'am? Dr. Neri Kim, Senabotany Institute, Neri replied politely. I have all proper permits for my research samples. Officer Wilson did not allow me to show them before he grabbed my hair and damaged my specimens. Captain Lee's eyes widened slightly. Dr. Kim, from the terraforming research team. Neri nodded. Yes, that's correct. Parker noticed the change in his captain's tone. You know who she is. I know of her work, Captain Lee said carefully. Dr. Kim, can you show me your permits now? Neri nodded toward her pocket. My ID badge and research authorization are in my right pocket. Since I'm restrained, I'll need assistance retrieving them. Captain Lee shot Parker a look and then helped Neri get her ID and permits. After checking them, she sighed. These are in order, Dr. Kim. Officer Wilson, remove those restraints immediately. Parker frowned. But Captain, the glowing things in her hair are exactly what she said they are. Research specimens. Captain Lee cut him off. Fully authorized research specimens. As Parker reluctantly removed the restraints, Neri rubbed her wrists. Thank you, Captain. I would like to file a complaint about my treatment today, and I need to make a call to my husband. Of course, Captain Lee said. You can use the comm unit in my office for privacy. She glared at Parker. Officer Wilson, wait here. After Neri went into the captain's office, Parker shrugged. What's the big deal? So she has permits. She still looks suspicious. Captain Lee leaned in close. The big deal is that you just assaulted a respected scientist without cause, and it was recorded by multiple witnesses. Parker rolled his eyes. So what if she calls her husband? What's he going to do? Just then, Captain Lee's computer beeped with an incoming message. She looked at it, and her face went pale. What? Parker asked. What is it? Captain Lee turned the screen so Parker could see. On it was a photo of a serious-looking Korean man in an expensive suit. Under the photo was a name. Jum Kim, lead attorney, Interstellar Civil Rights Law Group. That, Captain Lee said quietly, is Dr. Kim's husband. The man she's calling right now. He's won cases against entire planetary police forces for less than what you just did. For the first time that day, Parker Wilson felt afraid. Jum Kim was in the middle of an important meeting when his comm unit buzzed. He rarely took calls during meetings, especially one as important as this. He was helping make a new agreement between humans and the people of Arcturus, a star system 12 light-years from Earth. But when he saw it was from Harmony 7 security station, his heart jumped. Excuse me, Jum said to the others at the table. I need to take this call. He stepped out of the meeting room and answered. Kim here. June, Neri's voice came through. She sounded calm, but Jum knew his wife well. The slight tightness in her voice told him something was wrong. What happened? He asked. I've been detained at Harmony 7 security station, Neri explained. An officer named Parker Wilson Badge number 4075, grabbed my hair and damaged some of my plant samples. He arrested me for having illegal biotech, though I showed him my permits. June's face hardened. Are you hurt? Just sore, Neri said. But this is clearly discrimination. The officer targeted me specifically, and he used unnecessary force. I'm on my way, June said. Don't say anything else to them until I arrive. June went back to the meeting room. I apologize, but I need to leave immediately. My wife has been assaulted by a security officer on Harmony 7. The Arcturus representative, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin, nodded in understanding. Family comes first, Mr. Kim. We can continue tomorrow. Within 20 minutes, Jung was aboard his small, fast ship heading to Harmony 7. During the journey, he made several calls. First to his law office to get his team working. Then to the civilian oversight committee that watched over Harmony 7 security. Lastly, to a journalist he trusted who covered stories about police misconduct. Meanwhile, back at the security station, Parker was starting to worry. Captain Lee had shown him Jung Kim's record. He had won every case he had ever taken against security forces. 3 whole planetary police departments had been completely changed because of his work. And now this man was coming for Parker. It's not a big deal, Parker told himself. I was just doing my job. Captain Lee overheard him. No, Wilson, you weren't. You were supposed to ask for ID and permits first. You were supposed to scan her suspicious items before touching them. You were supposed to call for backup if you felt unsure. You did none of those things. She looked suspicious, Parker insisted. Because she's black with dreadlocks. Captain Lee asked sharply. No, because her hair was glowing. Captain Lee shook her head. You know how many glowing things we have on this station. Half the non-humans glow in some way. You don't grab them. Parker fell silent. In his 5 years on the force, he had stopped many non-humans and genetically modified humans. But thinking back, he realized he had been much rougher with some than others. In the captain's office, Neri was examining her damaged dreadlock. The special casing that kept the plants alive had a small crack. Some of the liquid inside had leaked out. One of her rarest plant samples might die. 3 years of careful work could be lost because of one officer's actions. 2 hours later, Jung Kim arrived at Harmony 7. He was dressed in a perfectly fitted dark blue suit. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp and focused. Everyone in the docking bay seemed to sense his energy and moved out of his way. When June reached the security station, Captain Lee was waiting for him. Mr. Kim, I'm Captain Lee. I want to apologize for. June cut her off. I'll speak with my wife first. Captain Lee nodded and led him to her office. When June saw Neri, his face softened. He went to her and gently touched her shoulder. Are you okay? He asked quietly. Neri nodded. Yes, but look. She showed him the damaged dreadlock. The Arcturus sunbloom sample is dying. June's face hardened again. He turned to Captain Lee. I want all security footage of the incident. I want Officer Wilson's complete record. And I want to speak with him now. Mr. Kim, perhaps we could discuss. Now, June said firmly. Captain Lee nodded and left to get Parker. While she was gone, June took out a small device and scanned Neri's dreadlock. The damage is recorded, he said. We'll add it to the case. Parker entered the office with Captain Lee. He had tried to make himself look professional, but his face showed his fear. Officer Wilson, Jum said, I'm Jung Kim, Dr. Kim's husband and attorney. Parker swallowed hard. Sir, there was a misunderstanding. No, Jum cut him off. There was no misunderstanding. There was an assault. There was discrimination. There was a violation of at least 15 station regulations and 3 interstellar laws. Parker looked at Captain Lee for help, but she just stared at the floor. The facts are simple, Jum continued. You saw a black woman with unusual hair. Instead of following proper procedure, You immediately treated her as a criminal. You used physical force without cause. You damaged valuable scientific samples. You arrested her on false charges. I was just following your prejudice. June finished for him. Parker's face flushed red. That's not fair. I'm not prejudiced. June raised an eyebrow. No? Let's look at your record then. He took out a small tablet and tapped it. A holographic display appeared in the air between them. In the past year, you've stopped 342 people for random checks. Of those, 89% were either non-human or genetically modified humans. Our station population is only 40% non-human and modified human. That's a clear pattern of bias. Parker stared at the numbers, shocked. He had never counted before. Had he really been that unfair? I want to know, June said. What made you grab my wife's hair? Why not just ask to scan it? Parker had no good answer. I don't know. June nodded. At least you're honest about that. He turned to Captain Lee. Captain, I'm filing a formal complaint against Officer Wilson. I'm also opening an investigation into the entire security force of Harmony 7. Captain Lee paled. The entire force. Mr. Kim, this was one officer's mistake. Was it? June asked. Or is it a symptom of a larger problem? That's what we'll find out. By the next day, word had spread throughout Harmony 7. The security footage of Parker grabbing Neri's hair had been shared thousands of times across the station's network. People were angry. Many came forward with their own stories about Officer Wilson and other security officers. June set up a temporary office on the station. People lined up to speak with him and his team. Each story was carefully recorded and added to the growing case. Neri, meanwhile, had gone to the station's science lab to try to save her damaged plant sample. The lab workers, having heard about what happened, gave her full access to their equipment. Some even stayed late to help her. I don't understand, one young lab worker said to her. Why aren't you more angry? Neri carefully adjusted a light over the damaged plant. Being angry doesn't help the plant grow, she said. Actions help. My husband acts through the law. I act through science. Together, we'll make change. At the security station, Parker sat at his desk, staring at nothing. Other officers avoided him. Captain Lee had put him on desk duty pending the investigation. What will happen to me? Parker had asked her earlier. I don't know, Captain Lee had answered honestly. But it won't be good unless you start to understand what you did wrong. Parker thought about Neri's calm face as he grabbed her hair. He thought about the numbers June had shown him. Had he really been stopping people because they looked different? He had always thought of himself as a good officer. Now he wasn't sure. As the day ended, June met with Neri at their temporary quarters on the station. He had spent hours collecting statements, reviewing records, and preparing legal documents. How bad is it? Neri asked. It's not just Wilson, June said tiredly. The whole system here needs change. But your case will be the one to start it. Neri nodded. And the plant sample. For the first time that day, June smiled. Is that all you care about? 3 years of work, Neri reminded him. And did you save it? Neri's face lit up. I did. It's already growing new shoots. June took her hand. Then something good came from today. Neri squeezed his hand. More good will come, she said confidently. Changes will come. And as they both knew from their work, change, whether in plants or in people, often started with a little damage. 1 week had passed since the incident. Harmony 7 was not the same place anymore. Signs of change were everywhere. Outside the security station, people gathered daily to protest. They held signs saying justice for Dr. Kim and no more bias. Inside his temporary office, June Kim looked at the stack of reports on his desk. His team had been working day and night. They had talked to over 100 people who had bad experiences with station security. They had checked thousands of records. The picture was clear and troubling. It's worse than we thought, Joan told Nari when she brought him lunch. It's not just Officer Wilson. Many officers target non-humans and modified humans unfairly. Nari set down the food tray and looked at the charts on Jun's wall. Show me. Jun pointed to a large chart. Look here. Non-humans make up 30% of the station population, but account for 70% of all stops and searches. Modified humans are 10% of the population, but account for 19% of stops. And regular humans? Nari asked. Only 11% of stops, despite being 60% of the population. Nari frowned. That's very uneven. Yes, Joan agreed. And there's more. When stopped, non-humans are 3 times more likely to be detained than regular humans. Modified humans like you are twice as likely. Nari touched her dreadlocks thoughtfully. Her damaged plant sample was healing in the science lab, growing new shoots each day. But the damage to the station's trust would take longer to heal. What happens next? She asked. Jun took a bite of his lunch. Tomorrow I present our findings to the station council. They can't ignore this evidence. Meanwhile, Officer Parker Wilson sat in a small room in the security station. He had been moved from desk duty to mandatory training. For hours each day, he had to watch videos about bias and fair treatment. He had to read stories from people who had been treated unfairly by security forces. At first, Parker had been angry. He felt attacked and misunderstood. But as days passed, something began to change. He started to see patterns in his own behavior that he had never noticed before. Today, Parker's training officer was a non-human named Zal. Zal had blue skin and 4 eyes. He worked for the Civilian Oversight Committee. Officer Wilson, Zal said, "Today we will try something different. I want you to look at these images and tell me what you see." Zal showed Parker pictures of different beings, humans, non-humans, and modified humans in various settings. Parker had to describe his first thoughts about each one. After 20 images, Zal stopped. "Do you notice anything about your responses?" Parker thought for a moment. I described the non-humans and modified humans by their differences. I focused on what made them look strange or dangerous. And the regular humans. I described their clothes or what they were doing, not their bodies. Zal nodded. This is how bias works. It's often not something we choose consciously. It's in how we see the world without thinking. Parker looked down at his hands. So what do I do? First, you recognize it, Zal said, which you just did. That's a start. Later that day, Captain Lee called Parker into her office. Her face was serious. "Wilson, I've just received the preliminary report from Attorney Kim's investigation. It's bad. Very bad." Parker nodded. "I know. I've been seeing it in my training." Captain Lee looked surprised. She had expected Parker to be defensive. "The station council meets tomorrow to hear the full report," she continued. "Attorney Kim has named you specifically in his case, but he's also naming me and 4 other senior officers for allowing this pattern of bias to continue." Parker felt a chill. "What will happen to us? Best case, we keep our jobs but with serious changes and oversight. Worst case," Captain Lee sighed, "we lose our jobs and the entire security force gets reorganized under new leadership." The next day, the station council chamber was packed. People from all parts of Harmony 7 had come to hear Jun's report. At the front of the room sat the 7 council members, 3 humans, 3 non-humans, and 1 modified human. They represented all the major groups on the station. Jun stood before them, calm and professional in his dark suit. Behind him sat Neri, her dreadlocks now healthy again, the plants inside glowing with soft blue-green light. "Council members," Jun began, "1 week ago, my wife was assaulted by Officer Parker Wilson because of how she looked. But this case is no longer about just one officer or one incident. This is about a pattern that affects everyone on this station." For the next hour, Jun presented his evidence. Charts, videos, testimonies from witnesses, and statistics all pointed to the same conclusion. The security force of Harmony 7 consistently treated non-humans and modified humans unfairly. When June finished, the head of the council, an older human woman named Dr. Torres, looked troubled. "This is disturbing evidence, Mr. Kim. What do you propose we do?" June placed a data pad on the council table. "I have prepared a list of changes that would address these problems. They include new training requirements, oversight procedures, and consequences for biased behavior." Dr. Torres picked up the pad. "And if we implement these changes, then I will not pursue legal action against the station. But Officer Wilson must still be held accountable for his actions against my wife." From the back of the room, a voice called out, "I accept full responsibility." Heads turned. Officer Parker Wilson stood up. Captain Lee, sitting beside him, looked shocked. "Wilson, sit down," she hissed. But Parker stepped into the aisle. "No, I need to say this." He walked toward the front of the room until he stood before the council. "My name is Parker Wilson. I'm the officer who assaulted Dr. Kim. I did it because I saw her as different and suspicious. I didn't see her as a person first. I'd spent this past week learning how wrong I was, not just with Dr. Kim, but with many others." The room was silent. No one had expected this. Parker turned to face Nari. "Dr. Kim, I am deeply sorry for how I treated you. I damaged your work, hurt you physically, and disrespected you completely. There's no excuse for what I did." Nari's face remained calm, but she nodded slightly to acknowledge his words. Parker turned back to the council. "I don't ask to keep my job. I accept whatever consequences come. But I hope the changes Mr. Kim suggests will happen. The other officers deserve a chance to learn what I've started to learn." Dr. Torres studied Parker for a moment, then looked at June. "Mr. Kim, what are your thoughts on Officer Wilson's statement?" June's face gave away nothing. "Words are easy. Actions matter more. If Officer Wilson truly wants to make amends, I suggest he work with the Civilian Oversight Committee to help implement the changes. His experience could be valuable, if he is sincere." Dr. Torres nodded. "A fair suggestion." She turned to the other council members. "We will review Mr. Kim's proposals and vote tomorrow. In the meantime, Captain Lee, Officer Wilson is suspended pending our decision." As the meeting ended, people began to file out. Nari approached Parker, who stood awkwardly to one side. "Officer Wilson," she said. Parker looked at her nervously. "Dr. Kim, I meant what I said. I'm sorry." "I believe you," Nari said. "But as my husband said, actions matter more than words. What will you do next?" Parker thought for a moment. "I want to learn, really learn, about different beings, about my own bias, and then maybe I can help others learn too." Nari touched one of her glowing dreadlocks. "Do you know what these plants do? They adapt. When placed in new environments, they change to survive. Humans can adapt too, but only if they want to." She turned and walked away, leaving Parker with her words. And for the first time in a long time, Parker felt something new, the desire to change. 6 months had passed since the incident on Harmony 7. The space station looked the same from the outside, a giant wheel spinning slowly against the stars. But inside, many things had changed. The security force had new uniforms. The old white ones were gone, replaced with blue and gold. But the change was more than just clothes. New rules were in place. New training was required. And new people were in charge. Captain Lee was still head of security, but now she had help. A civilian oversight board reviewed all complaints against officers. Body cameras recorded all interactions with the public, and every 3 months, the data was checked for signs of bias. Officer Parker Wilson was no longer an officer. After his public apology, the station council had voted to remove him from the security force. But they had also offered him a choice: leave the station or help fix the problems he had been part of. Parker had chosen to stay and help. Now he worked with the Civilian Oversight Board. His job was to review complaints and look for patterns. He also helped train new officers, telling them about his mistakes and what he had learned. Today, Parker walked through the trading section where he had once patrolled. He wore simple civilian clothes now. Some people still looked at him with angry or cold eyes. Others nodded in greeting. Change came slowly. Parker was headed to the science lab. This was part of his new routine, something he did once a week. As he entered the lab, he saw Nari Kim working at a large table covered with plants. Her dreadlocks glowed brightly, filled with healthy plant samples. "Good morning, Dr. Kim," Parker said politely. Nari looked up. "Good morning, Mr. Wilson. Right on time as usual." For the past 4 months, Parker had been helping Nari with her research 1 day each week. At first, it had been awkward and tense. But over time, they had found a working rhythm. Parker's help allowed Nari to do more experiments and collect more data. "What are we doing today?" Parker asked. Nari pointed to a row of small containers. "These new samples just arrived from Earth. We need to prepare them for testing." As they worked side by side, Parker carefully following Nari's instructions, he thought about how much his life had changed. 6 months ago, he had seen Nari as a rule breaker, a suspicious person to control. Now he was learning from her, helping her work that might someday help terraform new worlds. "You're quiet today," Nari observed. Parker nodded. "I was just thinking about the hearing tomorrow." The next day was an important one for Harmony 7. The station council would review the changes made to the security force. Jun Kim would present his assessment of their progress, and Parker would have to speak about his own role. "Are you worried?" Nari asked. "A little," Parker admitted. "Your husband is not an easy man to impress." Nari smiled slightly. "Jun is fair. He judges by actions, not words." Parker hoped she was right. He had been working hard these past months, but he still wondered if it was enough. After finishing at the lab, Parker went to his small apartment. On his desk was a thick report he had helped prepare for the hearing. It showed the changes in security stops and searches over the past 6 months. The numbers were better, much better, but still not perfect. Parker also had his own statement to prepare. He had written and rewritten it many times. Nothing seemed right. How could he put into words how much he had changed? How could he make people believe him? In the end, he decided to speak from the heart, without a prepared text. It would be more honest that way. The next morning, the council chamber was full again. Just like 6 months ago, people from all parts of the station had come to hear about the changes. Jun Kim stood at the front, as professional as ever in his dark suit. Behind him sat Nari, her glowing dreadlocks a bright spot in the room. Dr. Torres, head of the council, opened the meeting. 6 months ago, we heard disturbing evidence about bias in our security force. We approved major changes to address these problems. Today we'll hear about the progress made. Jun stepped forward. "Council members, I have reviewed the data carefully. In the past 6 months, security stops of non-humans have decreased by 58%. Stops of modified humans have decreased by 47%. Searches now match more closely with the station's population." Jun continued, showing charts and data. The evidence was clear. Things were getting better. But Jun said, "We must continue to be vigilant. Old habits can return if we don't watch carefully." Dr. Torres nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Kim. Now we'll hear from former Officer Wilson. Mr. Wilson has been working with the Civilian Oversight Board and assisting in Dr. Kim's research as part of his rehabilitation." Parker walked to the front of the room. His heart beat fast. Many eyes watched him, some friendly, some still suspicious. He took a deep breath. 6 months ago, I stood here and apologized for my actions. Today, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm here to report on what I've learned and what I'm trying to do about it. Parker spoke about his work with the Oversight Board. He explained how he now helped review complaints and identify problems. He talked about the training he gave new officers, using his own mistakes as examples. "I also work with Dr. Kim in her lab once a week," Parker said. At first, this was just part of my community service, but it has become much more than that. Parker looked at Neri. Dr. Kim's work is about adaptation, how living things change to survive in new environments. I've been doing my own kind of adaptation, changing how I see the world and other beings. It's not easy, and I'm not done. I may never be done, but I am trying. When Parker finished, the room was quiet. Then Dr. Torres spoke. Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Wilson. Now, Captain Lee will present the Security Forces report. The meeting continued for another hour. At the end, the council voted to continue the changes for another year, with quarterly reviews to check progress. As people left the chamber, Joan Kim approached Parker. This was the first time they had spoken directly since the investigation. Mr. Wilson, Joan said formally. Mr. Kim, Parker replied. Nervous. Your report was honest, Joan said. And the data shows real improvement in the security force. Parker nodded. Thank you, but we still have work to do. Yes, Joan agreed. Change takes time. He paused, then added, Neri tells me you have been helpful in her lab. I try to be, Parker said. Her work is important. Joan studied Parker's face. Do you know that her research has received new funding? The incident 6 months ago brought attention to her work. Sometimes good can come from bad situations. Parker hadn't known this. That's good news. It is, Joan said. And if you are interested, Neri could use a full-time research assistant, someone who has already shown they can learn and adapt. Parker stared at Joan in surprise. Are you offering me a job? Neri is, Joan corrected. I am simply passing along the offer. Parker looked past Joan to where Neri stood, watching them. She gave a small nod. I would be honored, Parker said. But why would she want me to work for her after what I did? Joan's face softened slightly. Because true justice isn't just about punishment. It's about restoration and growth. You harmed her work. Now you can help it flourish. Later that evening, Neri and Joan sat in their apartment on Harmony 7. The station lights had dimmed to simulate night. Do you think he'll take the job? Joan asked. Neri nodded. He will. He needs purpose, and he's actually quite good with the plants. And you're really okay working with him every day? Joan asked. Neri touched her dreadlocks. The plants inside glowed softly. These plants teach us something important. Life adapts. It changes to survive. Parker is adapting. And so am I. Joan took her hand. You always see the bigger picture. That's why we work well together, Neri said with a smile. You fight for justice. I create growth. Between us, we make change happen. Outside their window, Harmony 7 continued its slow spin among the stars. From the trading section to the security station to the science labs, people of all kinds lived and worked together. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems to solve, biases to overcome. But as Neri had said, life adapts, and with each adaptation, things get a little better. And sometimes, the biggest changes start with the smallest moments, even a hand reaching out to grab something it doesn't understand.